College Football Podcast, joined as always by Clinton Boring. My name is Ryan Satkoviak. The season is almost over, Clinton. We have one game to go, the national championship game. The Big Ten is alive, the SEC is not. Sir, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great, man. It was a fantastic weekend. Went a little too fast, as they always do. It was filled with travel, so it makes it go quicker than it needs to be. A little bit of disappointment in the game that we're about to break down here. I was really looking forward to that matchup all day Friday. The Thursday night game was a pretty solid game. Um, but football season, college at least, is about to wrap up. It's a little disappointing. Been a good day in the portal for Ohio State and Notre Dame today, as the lunatic fringe of both fan bases have been on full out panic because they didn't sign people in the first 6 days and they just couldn't wait. And here we go. It's off to the races. The NFL playoffs, I got to tune into some of that this week, and they were some fantastic games, in addition to another barn burner tonight of a 3-0 lead to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But the NFL product completely outshone as far as closeness of games and interest of games this weekend to the college football product throughout the playoff, I would say, because in the NFL, guys, you don't get James Madison and Tulane in the games against the big boys.
Just get the Carolina Panthers and the Pittsburgh
Who
Steelers.
damn near pulled an upset. Damn near pulled an upset. That was crazy. I couldn't believe that. Yeah. I thought that was going to be a shellacking, and they fought hard, man. That's another thing. You look at like turnarounds, like the Jaguars this year. I think they were 3-14 last year. Won the division this year. Panthers, still not a great record. I believe they were 8-9, but they won the division and damn near upset. I would say I know the Seahawks are the one, but the Rams have kind of felt like the favorite all year in the NFC. So it's made for some really good football. I will say it is a bit odd to not see the Chiefs in the playoffs. It's fun, but it's just a little bit odd. Mr. Ryan, how are you this evening?
Just wonderful, man. Just sad another football season has come and gone. It's the worst time of the year in the sports calendar, in my humble opinion. There's, I get the NFL playoffs are going on, but I don't really care all that much. And it just happens 2 days a week. And it's cold. It's really cold, and the days are short. I'd never see the sun, and I'm about to go into that point in my life where I question why I live in the Midwest and why I don't move somewhere warm, or at least somewhere that the sun shines more than once every 6 weeks.
Ryan, we have somewhat breaking news per FanDuel. Boy. Can you take a guess at who's the current betting Heisman odd for next year?
No, I don't need to guess because I saw it. It's a tie for first between CJ Carr and Arch Manning.
Arch Manning again. Good Lord.
Hey, man, God forbid a white boy get a little motion and have a nice little second half to the season.
I mean, he did look better.
He was scintillating against Michigan in the Cheez-It Bowl, Clinton. Don't you disparage that.
What cool vocabulary word can you come up with Bryce Underwood's performance?
That was a turd burger.
I throw off my back foot Cheez-It Bowl 15 times.
Hey, he's got another wide receiver next year with Jamie
French. Yeah, Jamie French.
Spanish and not French.
Marsh.
I think they roll their R's in French.
If he's throwing off their back foot and it doesn't get to him, they can't catch the ball. That's the problem. Anyways, you got to feel a little better about Notre Dame here recently. I mean, you and I both knew that these teams were going to make moves. I don't know why people get in such a damn panic.
I mean, you know why.
And part of it was we talked about last week. Indiana. Indiana set everybody on fire because they kicked Bama's ass, and then they go right in and sign a bunch of people in the portal, and then continue to sign people. And everybody's like, Indiana's just going to run this thing for the next 10 years because Ohio State, Notre Dame, and Alabama and Georgia aren't signing players. I'm like, guys, they're not losing 24 starters off their team. Most of their starters are back, or people who were projected to start. They will get their players, and they are doing it now. And so it is fun to be on Twitter again because the Ohio State lunatic fringe has toned it down a little bit.
You just wait until the next coaching rumor or whatever happens, and everyone goes into a meltdown again. It's not.
Well, it even got to the point this weekend for Ohio State Twitter because of the exoduses that were occurring and not enough coming in. Ryan Day's got to be going to the NFL. It's the only answer. I'm like, I just don't see it. I don't
Okay,
see it.
at least your freakouts are like unfounded conspiracy bullshit, and it's not fucking. I can't even remember the guy's goddamn name. The Ian Rappaport going on NFL Countdown being like, yeah, NFL teams have basically just ignored Marcus Freeman saying he's coming back to Notre Dame and are still trying. It's like, can you shut the fuck up for like 15 minutes, man? Jesus Christ. Go pick
Hey,
on
man,
someone else's head coach. God damn.
Marcus Freeman's out here beating up wrestling coaches, okay?
Yeah, that was just a wicked stare down. It was
Oh,
like
God.
that was like the fucking dude who filed the report clearly did not know that there was video because that was just embarrassing.
So for the people who don't know, Ryan, fill them in real quick before we break down this
Uh,
ass beating in the Peach Bowl.
there was a police report filed with the Mishawaka Police Department just outside of South Bend at a wrestling match. I believe it was January 3rd, implicating or accusing Marcus Freeman of simple battery. Um, the accuser was an assistant wrestling coach in the area who apparently has a rap of being a douchebag and has a criminal record. I don't remember if it was a criminal record. I actually shouldn't say that without knowing that. Apparently not a good guy, and he was apparently chirping at Marcus Freeman's son, who is a senior wrestler for the Penn High School wrestling team.
God, Freeman has a kid old enough to be a senior?
Going to Cornell, I believe, to wrestle.
Oh, my God, we're old.
This was also a match that this assistant coach's team was not even involved in. He was just chirping a 17-year-old, which that's. I think we talked about the Damon Williams thing last week. That's about as low as you can get announcing you're leaving when your whole team is at a memorial. That chirping a fucking high school athlete is about as low as you can get.
Mm-hmm.
That's fucking disgusting behavior. Like if that's
When his-
you, if you're listening to this and you've ever done that, don't go out in public. Fucking lock yourself in your house and don't show your face. You don't belong in public if you're chirping children at a sporting event. You're a pig. You're a piece of shit. And if this offends you, fuck you.
And then his dad, who could just choke you out in about. Well, maybe not choke you out because
Apparently,
you
it
are
was
trained in wrestling.
apparently it was the wife who was going after him first, who was yelling at him like, what is your problem? And then he stepped in and gave him the old like, you're 5'5", 130 pounds. Who do you think you are talking to me? And then the guy filed a police report, and the police said there's no evidence that claims what this man did, and they're not filing charges. So yeah, I'm glad I got that off my chest because that's I'm sure you see crazy sport parents and what you deal with, not in the realm that we're talking about here, but like, good God, some of you people need a fucking grip, man. It's not that serious.
Flag football this past year again, because that was more of a mix of kindergarten to second grade for Elliot's level, even though he's still preschool. There were some interesting parents, and it was more like their little combine day that they have for these kids, and it's just like dads playing fantasy football with their kids on steroids, and some of the seriousness that these dudes are out here with and the ferocity that they're trying to coach these kids. It's like they're in fucking kindergarten and second grade.
Bro, you got to relive your glory day. You got to relive the glory days you never had.
These Ohio State Buckeyes, Ryan Day is not standing over here watching a 6-year-old try to catch a ball.
No.
Like, my God. Like, the biggest thing we expected, me and the head coach, were that we just wanted the kids to do their best to listen so that we could be able to have fun and coach them. And that's what we did, and that's why we kicked everyone's ass other than one team. So, but you're right, man. It's already started, and my son is 5.5 years old. I want him to have fun right now and enjoy it, because if he doesn't have fun now, he's never going to want to do it when he's older. And that's the risk as a coach. If you're doing that shit now with these little kids, they're never going to want to do this when they get older. You're going to ruin the sport. It doesn't matter the sport for them before they even get to something. And it's absurd, the expectations and the stress we try to put on a 5 to a 7-year-old. I'm like, they're here to learn the game and have fun, whether it's baseball, football, soccer, wrestling, lacrosse. It doesn't matter. You're not going to be announced as some Ohio Pee Wee football champion coach in front of Ryan Day to impress your ego. It just doesn't work that way. Just have fun. And it's the same shit when they get older. And you and I see it too when a parent brings in a young student athlete, and everybody's kid is the next LeBron James or the next Alex Rodriguez or the next Joe Burrow, and it's just like, buddy, that there's about a 0.005% chance that that's ever going to happen. Settle your horses down. First of all, your kid's not going to have an elbow left to throw a ball if he continues to pitch 12 months out of the year.
Yeah,
What about catching?
one of our surgeons, he's like, yeah, I basically have to tell parents who come in, I'm like, if your kid is 13 and he's already developing overuse elbow injuries, he's never going pro. So just stop.
No, not going to have a chance. It's amazing too. Like, I'll have the parent and the kid in there, and I'm like, well, what other position does he do than pitch? Catch? I'm like, no. He's throwing as many balls as the pitcher, and he's going to have to throw down the first, second, and third at some point. Like, he can't do that. Go stand his butt on first base and make him catch a ball and just
Yep.
stand there, or
Play
just
right field.
DH.
Play right field. They never get
Like,
the
you
ball.
cannot throw a ball this much. This is why your shoulder and your elbow hurt when you're 12. You will never make it to high school baseball because everything's going to fall apart. And then it's great too to test like high school baseball players' scapular strength,
Terrible.
and it's absurd.
10 times out of 10. 10 times out of 10.
It is insulting how weak that is. I'm like, and you want to come in here and ask me why does your elbow hurt in your shoulder? I can tell you right now.
You see this.
You're weak as a kitten.
You see these muscles here that more or less attach your arm to your body are not doing anything. Come to Inside the Pylon for your football takes and stay for
That's
the
right. The PT
bitching
advice.
about parents and their own idiosyncrasies. Anyway, we had a football game two football games. One of them was really good. One of them was not. We have a national championship game.
Just an ass beating.
It was an ass beating. The Miami Ole Miss game was good. That was a very exciting game. But we have a national championship matchup. Miami will be playing more or less a home game in which they are probably going to be outdrawn by Indiana fans who, holy smokes, man, this sounded was this do you think this was the loudest Indiana game of all time?
I would bet it was because I think that's probably the most Indiana fans that have ever been to one game. I mean, they sell off the rock. They have the past 2 years, but I would assume Mercedes-Benz Stadium holds more than Indiana Stadium. I've been to Indiana Stadium twice.
Yeah,
it's a nice stadium.
Their Memorial Stadium, 52,626. Mercedes-Benz is
got to be like 70 to 80, right?
Stadium capacity can expand to over 75,000.
And I would bet 60,000 of those were Indiana fans.
It looked
like I was
heavy
scrolling through Twitter, and everybody's like, "There's crimson everywhere," and then just sporadically there'd be a Duck fan.
I think they asked Dante Moore after the game. He was like, "Yeah, we thought we were going to be able to do our cadence, and they had to go to a silent count because they couldn't hear." Crazy.
So, caveat: we'll get to this here shortly when I have a question about Dan Lanning, but here we are again, where it's another sound of. Did Dan Lanning not fully prepare his team for this game? We'll get to that shortly. But to the game, Ryan.
Indiana 56, Oregon 22. I think it's an oversimplification to say this was over from the jump when Dante Moore threw a pick six on the first play of the game. But that certainly didn't help assuage the nerves, I think, if you're an Oregon fan. Realistically, though, man, I think, and we were talking about this a little bit pre-show, Oregon rebounded well, and, you're more or less your second drive of the game. That's your scripted drive. You did not have a scripted drive to open because your first scripted play was turned over into 7 points the other way. But Oregon responded with a very good first drive. But the vibe that I got from that was the vibe of the opening Notre Dame drive of the national championship game last year. It was like, wow, that was a real gutty drive. There's no fucking way that Riley Leonard is going to be able to run 85 times in this game and walk out in anything other than a body bag. It just felt very forced, very labored, which they scored. And I'm like, okay, maybe we do have a game. And then Indiana went down and finished the rest of the first quarter with their own 11-play touchdown drive. Then they trade punts in the second quarter, and that Dante Moore fumble, I don't know if that was really the turning point in the game, but I mean, 21-7 at that point, and it looked like everything was coming just a little bit easier for Indiana than it was for Oregon, and then all of a sudden it's 35-7 at the end of the second quarter, and I really didn't pay too much attention to the second half in this game. I will not lie to you, man. This was just I would say it's as thorough of an ass beating as we have seen these last few months, but I mean, they also just did. I'd argue that they did worse to Alabama because
Mm-hmm.
Oregon gift wrapped them 14 points, well, 21 points really in this game with 2 fumbles inside their own red zone
Mm-hmm.
plus the pick six.
Well,
So I mean, it's 35-7, and 21 of those points Indiana did not even have to work for.
yeah, and I think the one fumble that when he went to throw the ball and it hit, I believe, was it Dr. Hill?
Mm-hmm.
It's because of the lack of reps, and they talked about this, I believe, in the game. Is
Yep.
Oregon was hurting at the running back position. The running back's too close to Dante Moore. He drops to throw the pass, which again I'd have to go back to watch to see how it would even have worked out for him. And then he hits the running back and he
It was
fumbles
just
the ball.
like bounced right in, like his hand hit him right in the head.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh man, and that you felt a lot of pressure at that point for Oregon to do something perfect. And I came into the second half and listen, this game is not fully over. Oregon has the talent to make a push, but they've got to score, and they got to score immediately, which they did not. And
Hmm.
it just got worse from there. I mean, 8-7 in the third. That's the only quarter Oregon won, Ryan. 8-7 in the third quarter. And then, I mean, Indiana turned on the rocket boosters in the second quarter, first quarter and the second quarter. It was just disappointment. I was really excited for this game. I love the head coaching matchup. We talked about in the pregame how it is really hard to beat the same team twice, and Indiana didn't make it look hard at all because they kicked the ever-loving shit out of them for 4 quarters, and there was nothing Oregon can do. Oregon looked beyond overmatched in this game at times. Mendoza only threw 177 yards, Ryan, but he threw for 5 TDs. Now, again, when you're gifted short fields, that tends to work to your favor. Indiana still, in all the short fields they had, still almost ran for 200 yards again. 40 carries, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kalen Black's a beast, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for him at the next level, and I wanted to see here. I believe he is, if this loads quick enough, I think, yeah, he's a senior, so he will be going to the draft when this is done. Roman Himby as well. But the other guy that I'm extremely impressed by, man, anytime Indiana needs a big shot down the field, it's not Surratt and it's not Cooper, it's Becker.
Charlie Becker.
He only had 2 catches for 48 yards in this game, but it was a touchdown and a long of 38 to lead the team. He has been fantastic and an absolute heater for this team in the second half of the year. Go back to Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship. If Indiana doesn't have Charlie Becker to make a couple big catches for them, where are they? If Indiana doesn't have, Charlie Becker shows up in big catches in this game for them, he is just a play maker. D'Angelo Pons also got a reception in this one, Ryan. I don't know if you caught that when they ran that little pass out to him. I was like, wait a second. They don't have a wide receiver number 5 that typically makes plays on this offense. They got Pons out there. They're getting creative. And then you look at Oregon, again, held to under 100 yards rushing, and that's a big part of their offense, and Indiana stifled them. 93 yards on the ground. Now, again, some of that is 28 yards that's taken away because of Dante Moore's sacks. If you do just Dr. Hill and Jay Harris, they got over 100. But don't be fooled by the stats, folks. Dr. Hill, 5 carries, 86 yards, but one of those runs was for 71 yards. You take that away, and Oregon ran for nothing. We said the battle of the quarterbacks again. Clearly, Mendoza won round 2. Dante Moore had 2 fumbles and lost both of them, and he had an interception, so he cost his team 3 turnovers. Mendoza had 2 fumbles as well, but he did not lose any of them. The one improvement that Oregon had from the last game was they didn't give up 6 sacks this time. They gave up 3. But the problem was Oregon only had 1 sack. Indiana had 10 TFLs, man. They just live in your backfield. Aiden Fisher and Isaiah Jones are just dudes. Dudes being dudes.
Mm-hmm.
They make plays. And this is what we go back to after we said the Bama game with Indiana, even after the Ohio State game. We've kind of said it all season, but it shows up in these big moments. Indiana is so well coached. Every position group. They are locked in from Signetti down, man. They don't waver. And the coaches don't, and you see it through the players. They're so sound, and they don't make mistakes. They're where they need to be 95% of the time, and this is why this team is where they are. And I'm really excited for the upcoming test against Miami that looms for them.
It'll be a good game, I think. Well, it could be a good
We
game.
hope. I mean, I want Indiana to win, but damn, I would really like the final game of the season to be a good one that ends with the Hoosiers, preferably winning on a questionable PI call that leads into overtime, in which they then beat Miami, just so they have to reminisce 23 years ago. Fuck you, Miami.
Clint, we have two playoff games for Indiana in which Fernando Mendoza has combined for 36 passes. Just to give you a frame of reference on how utterly dominant they have been
Yeah.
through this run here. And granted, they're not a high volume throwing team. I'm just kind of looking at the game log here. It looks like we have just 3 games this season where he has 30 pass attempts. But still, man, you're Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. You don't need him to be Superman to win a game like this, which is just astounding. And people I'm sure have heard the mentions. I know we've mentioned it on this show. It's just very Saban-esque with how efficient and deadly that they have been on offense and how they don't have to rely just on one area to beat you because they can do anything. They know your tendencies. They know how to attack you, and they do it with brutal efficiency. And I think,
I mean, look at Mendoza's last 2 games real quick. 17 of 20, 14 of 16. Bama, well, the first one was Oregon, second one was Bama. He has 5 incompletions combined on 36 attempts in 2 games and 8 touchdowns. That is brutally efficient, man.
it's very good.
Brutally efficient. Now,
very
when you
good.
have a monstrous run game that they have, he doesn't have to be the game changer, even though he's shown he can be for those who still doubt him.
Yes.
Also, elite pregame meal. I don't know if you got this. Fernando Mendoza continues to add to his legendary season by saying pregame he likes to eat. The night before games, he eats dino nuggets and mac and cheese, pulling at the heartstrings of all the kids inside of us. That is an elite meal.
Good for him. Good for him. We'll talk more about the national championship game on our Sunday show this week, but early line, I think it opened at 7.5. Indiana 7.5 point favorite. I think that's already up to 8.5. I feel like this is famous last words because I almost feel like I've at least been saying this about Miami. Well, at least the first 2 rounds that they're going to get their ass kicked in this game. And they just keep persevering. But this feels like the game coming up where you're meeting Thanos. He's inevitable. And I think I was listening to the Solid Verbal, and their point with this was like, if you're looking at a game and you're saying, how does this game have blowout potential? And all of the scenarios you can concoct in your head are for one team only. That probably tells you the way that the game is going to go. Not necessarily that it's going to be a blowout, but that, well, the team you think that has the blowout potential is probably going to win. And there's definitely a path to win for Miami, and I'm sure we'll get into that on Sunday. But it feels like in 7 days' time, Clint, we are going to be talking about national champion Indiana.
And then we'll have to get our guy Sammy back on the show to celebrate with us. Yeah, I'm with you, man. It feels like 100%. If there's a blow, it's Indiana. Again, for the sake of college football in this playoff, which has been kind of disappointing to an extent. I mean, it hasn't been bad, but last year's was much better. And I know that's the OSU homer saying it because Ohio State won the national championship, but you cannot argue with me that last year's playoff of 12 teams wasn't better than this year's 12.
Well, you gotta think. So, I mean, by and large, the first round was a dud last year, right? And we kind of had that this year with JMU, Oregon, Tulane, Ole Miss. I mean, I get the Miami Texas A&M game was close, but that was not good, compelling football. And I mean, you had Oklahoma, Alabama, which had a big comeback, but then in the second half, Alabama kind of pulled away from that one. Boy, I got to like re-rack my memory brain here to hit to this what we had in the second round here. I mean, Miami, Ohio State was kind of close for a minute, but then, I mean, I guess Miami got the window dressing touchdown late to pull it away. Georgia, Bama was a good game. The one that I ironically slept through. Georgia, that's right. Georgia, Ole Miss was a good game. The one that I slept through. But then, I mean, Oregon, Texas Tech wasn't a great game. Bama, Indiana wasn't really a great game either. And I mean, you look back at the semifinals or the quarterfinals last year.
Arizona State, Texas, down to the
Arizona
wire.
State, Texas was a barn burner down to the wire. Your Rose
Notre
Bowl was
Dame,
a
Georgia was
blowout.
great.
Notre Dame, Georgia was a really good game. Penn State, Boise State. I mean, it wasn't the final score wasn't close, but it was still a contest
Competitive.
going into the fourth quarter. And then
Mhm.
you look at the two semifinals last year. I mean, they literally came down to almost the last play of the game.
Mhm.
And this year we had a great classic game, Ole Miss versus Miami, but then we had a snooze fest in this game. And I mean, say what you want about the final score of the national title game or how the first half of that game last year went, but there was game pressure in the fourth quarter. And I'm sure many people tuned it out by that point because it was 31-7 or whatever it was at the beginning of the third quarter. But I hope for our sake that we don't get a game like that because I will not stay up late to watch it. I'm not
Not
going to lie.
not on a Monday night when my longest work day of the week is Tuesday.
No,
I need to
no.
be entertained. I would love nothing more to stay up and watch a close game in which Indiana wins and then get to see them hoist the trophy. That would be fine. But if it is a blowout, I can always record it and recap the next day for the fourth quarter. So, Ryan, I had two questions for you tonight. And
Okay.
let's just start with the team who's going to play in the national championship. And we've kind of touched on this, but I looked up today the average age of the Indiana players, Ryan. Can you take a guess at what the average age of the Indiana roster is this year?
Okay. What's it, like 23 or something like that?
It is 23 years old.
And
However,
it's skewed by their 29-year-old punter. Let's be real here.
a fun fact, the average age of the Green Bay Packers this past season was 25.
Crazy.
Signetti has a team full of grown men who just come and whip your ass. So my question to you, Ryan, is: has Indiana and Kurt Signetti, and again, I know it plays off a little bit of what Michigan and Ohio State did by bringing back their own and having some older guys, but has Signetti and Indiana kind of laid the blueprint to future roster building in this sport? And when you look at it, why pay 18-year-olds moving forward when you can pay grown-ass men to come play football for you?
Well, I would say yes and no. Yes, it's great if you can do it. But think about how they've acquired this old talent. It's a lot of it that followed with him, and they kind of plugged and played along the way, right? Like it wasn't just like a mass roster overhaul. And I think, like, in theory, if you can get, hey, here's 40 guys from the portal who are, well, and you got to think too, like, we're still kind of on the tail end of the COVID exemption. That's, I think, just about all those players are going to be washed out of the sport from now after this offseason. So that's going away too. But I think the thing about that is a little precarious is with Indiana, they've built that team in a way where it's old, but it's also like a team, right? Where it's a lot of these guys have been with Signetti from JMU up to now. They know what he's about. They know the culture. They've helped build and establish that culture. And if you're supplementing your roster with, even if it's like 10 to 15 guys like that a year, I think you can get away with doing that. The issue is if you're importing a whole ass new team with old people, okay, that's great. You might be older, but now you're not a team. Now you have a bunch of mercenaries. You don't have a culture. You don't have guys pulling towards a common goal. And say what you want about the age of the team, they're as good as that helps. That certainly helps, right? I'm not going to sit here and discount that, but the reason that they are able to be this successful is because they're all pulling together towards a common goal in the same direction. There's no, well, I'm just here to get my money, and if I win, that's great. Or, well, that guy's getting more than me. I'm going to mope around now because I think I'm better than him, yada, yada, yada. And, I think the next couple of years with this, especially with Indiana, how they're reloading in the portal will be an interesting test case is, can they continue this without more heavily investing in the high school recruiting to form the backbone of that program? Because I think the best way to do it is how, like your Georgia's, I don't know if you can put Alabama in this realm anymore now that Saban's gone, but like how Georgia does it, how Bama's done it, how Ohio State's done it, how Notre Dame's done it, to a certain extent how Michigan did it under Harbaugh, is you're building the backbone of your roster, your key contributors with guys you've recruited through high school, guys that you are retaining and are growing within your program, and you're supplementing it with old players in the transfer portal, guys who have one last year of eligibility and they want to go somewhere to try to win a title, or a guy coming from a lower level who wants to come up and challenge himself or something of that nature. That to me feels like it's going to continue to be the sweet spot. I don't think you can completely eschew building a roster through high school, because we've seen it with Florida State too. Like, it takes one bad portal class to completely tank your team. And if you dig yourself a hole like that, you're not going to be able to get out of that with one portal class, because then you're going to have donors panicking. You're going to have coaches panicking. You're going to make rash decisions to try to get back. You're going to cut corners to try to get back. And it just compounds the problem. And that's how you go from a shitty offense quarterback by DJ Uyunglele to a shitty offense quarterback by Tommy Castellanos. So I don't think they do this every year in the NHL, where a team wins and then all the general managers try to build their team like that team because they take all the wrong lessons from it. I think there's going to be some teams that take the wrong lessons from this Indiana team, and it's going to be just throw a shitload of money at old people in the transfer portal, and that's how you're going to physically dominate teams. And I don't think it works well that way.
I think some of what the blueprint that they have laid is that for teams like an Ohio State, Georgia, Bama, and all them that have the backbone that you mentioned, it's maybe we don't take a recruiting class size of 28 kids.
Oh, sure.
Maybe we take something like 12 to 15, and we invest heavily in those 12 to 15 guys that we truly believe in. Maybe we supplement with some other guys, but then we really spend in the portal looking for those guys who can be veterans that can help us right away. And Indiana's going to get the recruiting. Cignetti's only been there for 2 years, right? If they continue on the success path, they're going to start pulling even better recruits that are 4s and 5 stars who want to come there to be the backbone. And then at times, if they don't play, we're going to see guys leave Indiana, just the way we have anyone else.
The one thing I'll push back on that is I don't think you can go lighter on your class, because that discounts the rule of thirds in your class, regardless of your class size. A third of your guys, if you're a good oiled recruiting or operation, a third of your guys are going to be exceptional contributors. A third of your guys will be situational players, and a third of your guys are going to completely wash out of your program. I think, like, especially with how high school recruiting is nowadays, you're having to give these guys more money to entice them to come, but these are one-year contracts. So what you're seeing with a lot of these freshmen going into the portal at all of these places is these are guys who got big NIL deals to commit and spend their freshman year at a program. The season's over. They're sitting down with the coach, the GM, whoever's responsible for these decisions, and they're negotiating next year's contract. And the GM is coming up and saying to him, hey, you were a practice squad player this year. You were making this amount of money. This is what we're paying you because you haven't established yourself. And your 3 options are you either take it and hope that you do better next year, you leave it, you go to the portal, and you're probably not going to get a bigger offer elsewhere, so now you're uprooting your life to get the same money, or you leave the football team and you just stay in school. So I think continuing to recruit as you have been, knowing that, like, hey, you signed a 25-man class, you're probably going to lose 8 to 10 of those guys after their first year because they're just going to straight up wash out of your program. And that's fine, right? Like, you want to trim the fat from the bottom end of your roster. You don't want guys who you know are never going to play for you hanging around, taking up a roster spot, taking up NIL money. That's when you got to go to the portal and say, okay, we lost 10 players from our recruiting class. Let's add, X, Y, and Z from the portal to be able to supplement it. I think that's going to be the way to go. And it's just going to be, you got to figure out who those right guys are in the portal to figure out how they fit into your culture.
Yeah. And I wonder if it's more, you get your 12 to 15 who you're focused on as stars, and then for like Ohio State reference, you stay more locally for maybe your other 5 to 8. Mm-hmm. That you pull the Westerville kid who might be a 3-star,
sure.
And
you know he's going to hang around.
And then maybe he's here for a year or 2 and then he leaves. But that's okay, because that's the depth you need. He gets better by playing against better players, and if he pans out, you hit a home run by taking the hometown 3-star. And it's a guy from your area that you know will want to compete against rivals. They'll know the conference they're in, all those things. It's going to be an interesting way moving forward. I'm sure, as you said, some guys are going to go complete portal, man. They're not going to care. We saw how that doesn't totally work, though. Look at Colorado and Deion Sanders. They don't recruit at all. And I've heard Deion does not go out on visits. If you want to see Deion, you come to him on your visit. They don't recruit. They go portaling, and this is what happens. They treat it like an NFL true free agency, and it doesn't work.
Also, one
So,
thing that you have to consider about Signetti is they got a lot of their portal guys that first weekend by basically telling them, here's your offer. It expires as soon as you walk out of this room, so take it or leave it. And at least there's a guy on one of the Notre Dame boards who used to be an NFL scout, and he's kind of intimated that that's rubbed a lot of agents the wrong way. Um, you can't get away with continuing to do that. Like that's going to come back, and you're going to start seeing guys not go take visits to Indiana because they know that's going to happen.
yeah, because they're going to want it's like recruiting all over again. These guys want to
What's
take
the
multiple
Saban way?
visits.
It's the Saban way, right? Like I guarantee you, he learned that from Saban. Like,
Yeah.
here's your offer. As soon as you step out of my office, the offer is rescinded. So take it or leave it.
The way you can keep that going, though, is you have to have that type of success. You have to
Sure.
be here every year. You have
You
to have the
can be a
clout,
prick. You can be
as
a
the
prick
kids
when
would
you
say.
win. You can be a prick when
Yeah.
you win.
Yep. You have an 8-4, 9-3 season, and you can't do that as much. But right now, they're the hottest team in the country. They can do whatever the hell they want. My second question tonight was, Ryan, to the team that lost. We've talked about this, you and I, before. We talked about this with Dale before. We might have talked about this with Dale 2 times because he's been on our show so many times. We love you, Dale. Dan Lanning has now been smashed in 2 playoff games in back-to-back years, Ryan. They lost in the Rose Bowl last year, 41-21, and now in the Peach Bowl, 56-22. Does the big game question still linger for Dan Lanning to you?
Um, that's hard for me to say because I think this year for Oregon, like we talked about this a little bit last year with Penn State and James Franklin, that it was kind of the perfect storm to create every single take that you can conceivably conceivably concoct for him because the Penn State fans were sitting there saying, okay, well, we made it to the semifinals. We made it to the Big Ten title game. Like this was a step forward for us. Meanwhile, the James Franklin detractors were sitting there saying, well, you still lost to Oregon, and then you got gift wrapped a cakewalk draw to the semifinals. That didn't prove anything. I think that's kind of Oregon this year with their schedule, right? Like their regular season schedule was not good and it didn't help. I mean, it looked fine. It looked good coming into the season, right? Like it didn't certainly age well the way that they played against Penn State and then what happened to Penn State after. And I don't think that's any fault of their own. That was them more or less breaking the Penn State football program's will to exist in its current form. So I think you got to give them at least a little bit of credit for that. They struggled against Iowa, but Iowa's a really good football team. And I think I wrote this comment on an Athletic article. Like people were gassing up Missouri and Tennessee all year. What's the fundamental difference between Tennessee and Missouri and Iowa? They're basically Iowa with better PR.
Mm-hmm.
There's no fundamental difference between those programs. If you're going to sit here and try to gas up Tennessee for being a top 25 team when they didn't beat a soul worth mentioning all year, why is Iowa not getting that same respect? That's still a good football team. They beat USC this year at home. That was a good USC football team, but really their only game of consequence this year, they lost, and they lost to that team twice, and they lost more embarrassingly the second time. I don't know what the answer is here. I don't have his record against top 25 teams off the top of my head, but I'm sure it's pretty good.
Yeah.
But he kind of had this same problem when DeBoer was at Washington, right? Like he kept losing to him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I think you can put in certainly he came in and dominated the Big Ten year one and won a Big Ten championship. That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
But people are all about what have you done for me lately? And they didn't make the Big Ten championship this year because they lost to Indiana at home. And then when they did get their rematch against them, they got absolutely bludgeoned. And now winning a playoff game over Texas Tech is a step in the right direction because you didn't win one last year, but you didn't make it any further than you were last year because you still lost. No. You made it one step further. I'm sorry. You had to win 2 playoff games. I'm completely dismissing JMU. I'm sorry, James Madison fans.
Yeah, Kirk,
that wasn't right of me. They won 2 playoff games this year. You made it one step further than last year, but I don't know. How much credit do people give them for beating JMU, a team they felt like shouldn't have been there, in the Texas Tech when people constantly shit on the Big 12 and say the Big 12 doesn't belong
Yeah, but
anyways.
no, but you got a Texas Tech
I give
team
them
that
credit.
ran rough shit over the Big 12, right? This
Absolutely.
wasn't like if it was
A
BYU,
huge
no
win.
disrespect to BYU, then okay, maybe that's one thing, but you're talking about a team that beat the shit out of everyone that
Yeah.
played in that
And they
conference.
utterly
And
dominated them. And
I
as people like to say, if you play this game 9 more times out of 10, Ryan, then it's probably not a blowout. And maybe it isn't. Maybe Indiana's just the hottest team in the country right now, and they're just bludgeoning people
I
with a
mean
sledgehammer.
the way that Indiana played them this year though, I mean, if they played 10 times, I think Indiana would win probably 8 or 9 of them.
Yeah, I think they would. I was saying it may not be a blowout.
Yeah,
They might
maybe.
actually have a good game.
I do wonder, at least in this particular instance, how much strife there was within the program with having to game plan for an Indiana team when everyone on Indiana was laser focused, and you have Will Stein also trying to build a staff and portal recruit for Kentucky, and Tosh Lupoy doing the same thing but for Cal.
And you got running backs entering the portal on an active
Yep.
playoff team. This
Yep.
is, again, why we need to fix this damn schedule. We should not be having, I don't even care if they're third stringers. We shouldn't be having to have kids make a forced choice to get off of a playoff team, especially guys who may need to be contributing for them, which Oregon needed in running back. I believe I read something, and Dale, if you listen to this, or any Oregon fans, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they said they transitioned 2 backup linebackers through the week over to running back just in case of emergency.
Jay Harris
If
was
they
in the
need it.
portal. He was
Yeah.
in the portal, and he still
And
played
then-
because they had no one else.
Yeah. And then Dan Lanning, I assume, must have convinced him. Uncle Phil slid him an extra 300 grand under the table to get out there on the field. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I think Dan Lanning is a great coach. And there was something out yesterday was, would you rather start your team right now if you had the pick between Dan Lanning or Mario Cristobal? Who would you pick? And I said Dan Lanning. I would take Dan Lanning. I believe Oregon's going to get over the hump eventually. What people forget, it's really freaking hard to win a national championship, man. It's
Sure
not
is.
easy.
Sure
It
is.
is not easy. Look at Ohio State last year and the lumps they took in order to ignite their team to get there. And then to try to do it again this year. It's much harder now. There's not 4 teams. It's not the BCS where 2 teams get to go battle each other. At the end of the year, you've got to play multiple games, and you have to survive and keep your team motivated. If Indiana wins it this year, I'm sorry, IU fans, it's a high chance you do not go back-to-back next year. This is not the Nick Saban world of the BCS and the 4 teams. You have to go through gauntlets every year now. And to survive, you got to play late. You're going until January 19th, which is longer than teams who were out in the first round, and even longer for teams who didn't make the playoff. They get
Clinton,
more
buddy,
rest than you.
My team's season has been over for 2 months now.
Yeah.
Almost.
They get a jump start. Now, again, you won the Natty, and that's what matters. But to envision that your team is just going to go ransack all the way through their schedule again, it's hard to do because it's a deep season. Plus, you factor in whatever you may lose to the draft or to the portal. It's hard, which is why fans, I think, need to be just a little less critical of these coaches when these things happen, man. There's a lunatic fringe in every fan base. People make fun of it with Ohio State and Kirk Herbstreit making that comment, but I'm reading these Oregon fans saying, get Dante Moore off my effing team, or there's no way Dante Moore can go pro, or I don't ever want to see Will Stein again. I'm like, oh my God, like, Will Stein has been fantastic for you guys. It's not his fault you lost. Again, as I said, with Ohio State and Miami, sometimes you just lose to a team who's better than you. And that team is better than you, and they force you into those errors and mistakes. You get outplayed, you get outcoached. It happens. It's the way it goes. You got to learn to deal with it. You don't get to win every game. If you did, Nick Saban would still be coaching, and Alabama would be 500-0 underneath him. It just doesn't work that way.
No, and Nick Saban also saw the way that college football was trending and said, I don't want any part of that.
And that's what we were talking about at work, man. Like, do you see guys? I think Dan Lanning and Ryan Day are probably similar age. Marcus Freeman younger than both of them, but do you see
Clinton,
these guys just?
We have breaking news. Coy Parrish
Uh-oh.
to Oregon.
Oh, there we go. That tells me Dylan Thieneman is going to the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And Coy Parrish. Uncle Phil must have upped that ante over Texas Tech, because I heard Texas Tech was made a huge offer to him. Good for Coy. I'm glad he's staying in the Big Ten. I'll pat myself partially on the back, as I told you all he would not be a Minnesota Golden Gopher in 2026. However, the team I predicted, I was wrong. But Ohio State did grab the second and third highest safeties ranked in the portal, and Coy Parrish, the number one. Congratulations, Oregon Ducks. Also bringing back DJ. I said DJ. I'm sorry, Mateo Uyunglele, and then defensive tackle that I'm blanking on the name right now. So the Ducks defense reloading already. Huge hits for them. They're not going anywhere. They will be a force in the Big Ten next year. Maybe we just need to bite the bullet, Ryan, and we come to we do 3 years straight of Oregon, and we watch them in the shoe next year.
Yeah, there you go. You know why they're going to be back, Clint? Because they recruit high school well. That's your staying power right there.
100%. You got to have a backbone.
Gotta have a
Portal
backbone.
kids, unless they're young portal kids, are not the backbone of your program.
No, for sure. For sure.
So,
Cool. We talked about
that's all
that.
I
We
have
talked about
other
that.
than
Yep.
updates. We're going to go Sunday night, guys. That'll be our prediction episode night before, so you can all check it out Monday as you build your anticipation for the national championship. And then Ryan and I are going to we'll have a recap probably for just him and I, and then we'd love to get, if Indiana wins, love to get Sammy on, our guy from Hoosier Huddle, to chat with us. And then we're going to go on our little February-ish break where we're going to pre-record 3, 4, 5, whatever episodes, and then we'll drop them weekly, once a week through the course of February. And then we're going to talk behind the scenes, but I think this year we're going to try for you guys. I think we're going to jumpstart a little more right into spring talk, so that way we can get it done sooner. And because feedback I've gotten is sometimes you guys feel like where we wrap up at the beginning of May or mid-May with spring talk, then we turn right around and start in July again. There's not enough break. So we'll hit the spring stuff a little bit sooner for you guys, and that'll give us some more fun filler content for May and June this year to then lead us into our summer previews and get us ready for football 2026, because it will be here before you know it.
No, it's still going to take fucking forever.
I know it will.
It
will.
This January, February, March are the longest months of the year.
They've gotten easier for me though, because I have t-ball / baseball now for my little man, so it makes it go pretty quick for me. We got
well.
two games a week, one practice a week leading up to games. My May and June went really fast last year.
Yeah, we have a fucked up hockey schedule this season, so I'm just not going to sleep at all.
Ryan will return in March, looking more tired than he ever.
How was your month off, Ryan? It was great. I slept 0 hours.
Yep. So thank you guys so much for tuning in with us. You can catch us live on Twitter for now. I have not decided if we're going to renew the blue check mark in April. But follow us on YouTube. You get notifications when we go live there, ITP CFB. Check us out just on Twitter, just to follow us. Ryan and I have both been trying to be active, as we said. This time last year, we're about 800 to 1,000 followers more than we were this time last year. So follow us, chat with us, help us continue to grow the show. Tell your friends, your family, whoever likes college football, especially in the Midwest, let them know. Let's help keep this podcast going. We appreciate you guys for tuning in.
We will see you guys Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern.
9 p.m. Eastern time.
As we preview the national championship
You did get the
game.
thumb I made for this one, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I need to route you the thumb for Sunday night, because it
Sounds
might be
good.
one of my favorite ones I've made.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you Sunday night.